Fantastic. Well, welcome to everybody. I use Zoom quite a bit, and I've been using it for control systems. Goodness me, it's either the 4th year or the 5th year I've used it. And I've been very successful because you can stay at home. You don't have to drag yourself into uni and that type of thing. It's powerful also because if I talk to you one-on-one, we can share pages and stuff like that. So it's a very powerful tool in that regard. This gets recorded, this session. I've given 2 hours to it, but the reality is that it's all about you. It will depend upon what you want to ask and check on. The reality is that it's now Thursday, week 1, so you've had time to look at the Moodle site. Everything is there, literally everything. Lectures are there, lecture slides are there. Let's quickly go and have a look at that. So if we're going to have a look at okay. There we go. All right, so as I say, everything's up there. All your assignments up there, we're going to have a look at that in a moment. But if we have a look through, what I've tried to do is, that's in my mode. See all that hidden stuff down there? You won't see that. So let me go up. I'll go into student mode so it looks exactly the same as yours. Okay. Okay, so when you go into it, you'll just see those categories, and hopefully that makes sense to you. So our activity, so we're dealing with a workshop at the moment. So when you come in, you've already got your lecture slides and video, watch those. And of course, when we finish today, I'll load up the Zoom once it renders. That can take anywhere between half an hour and 3/4 of an hour. It just depends how the system's operating. The system's playing up today, so sorry for the frustration, but we'll see how we go. And then, of course, you've got tutorial questions and solutions. Everything is there, okay? So they're full solutions. So if we go and have a look at say the solutions for this week, I write every mathematical line because I've done a lot of distance study, and there's nothing worse than sitting at home, on Saturday after you've done the mowing or something. You think, oh, fantastic, I'll get some work done. Oh, how the hell did you get from line 3 to line 4? And then you spend 4 hours, 16 books, look the internet. Sorry, couldn't care less. I write every line because I just want you to be able to sort of feel comfortable. And it's not that I want you to ring me anytime you like, but the point of the matter is that, as I say, I'm trying to make it more efficient for you. Also, what I'm trying to demonstrate to you, I'm a great person for talking the talk, and I also walk the walk. So what I say to you is that I want you to demonstrate what you're doing. Engineers Australia, that's how we get accredited. And also, of course, in the real world, if you are demonstrating, communicating well, then I'm the guy that, I want to work with you, because if I come on shift and you go, oh, yeah, something happened, I'm not too sure what happened, but anyway, you're on shift now, good day, and walk out the door, well, thanks very much. So again, if you can document things, communicate things, then when you walk in, you go, oh, mate, the boiler blew up, we're now fixing it, or whatever the case may be, something's down, then you're the guy I want to work with. So that's part of the connotation. The other part of the connotation is that, again, welcome to education. This is, you're stuck in this thing trying to get a degree. So we also have to tick boxes. And the boxes we have to tick, we have to say to things like, demonstrate your knowledge, use referencing. So what you'll find is that as you go through, yes, I'll reference, wildly exciting, referencing is so exciting. We also assess it because obviously it's part of your process to accredit you as we get accredited as a university. So yes, you'll see this kind of thing, and that you'll need to do that as well, and we'll talk about that as we go through. But as I say, I walk the walk, talk the talk. So as you go through, some of these things you can just feel if you think about it. Obviously, if you're going to look up Laplace transforms, so I'm going to the same page probably as my reference, all that kind of stuff. So just model my behaviour, and pretty much, you'll be fine. As you go through, as you can see, sometimes there are assumptions. Keep that in mind because in real life, we don't always have zero initial conditions. Again, as I say, if you're coming on shift, that machine, production line, boiler has been going. So therefore, then there's no zero conditions there. It's at some particular level of conditions. We make life easy for ourselves by having zero initial conditions. But just be cautious, because sometimes the assignment question will be just a pain in the ass. It'll just do it on purpose. It'll make sure that there's not zero conditions. So you think, oh, but again, it's just, as I say, just like angry, basically. No, not really. So just knowledge. And as you see, okay, so I'll flick through a bit, blah, blah, blah. And what I'll do is I'll give you advice and things like that. So I try to make my solutions, that's comments and things like that. And look, if you're, as I say, I've just been teaching that first year maths. If you haven't done maths for a long time, like those people have done, sometimes they're coming in pretty cold. And likewise, you're a big 3rd year now or 4th year, whatever the case may be, and you think, oh, that bloody maths 1 week, thank God that's over and done with. The reality, of course, is it keeps coming back and tapping you on the shoulder, doesn't it? it keeps saying to you, oh, hang on a minute, I've got to, I've got partial fractions and that type of thing. So again, I'll say to you, I'll describe to you what's going on so that you can go, oh yeah, that's right, yeah, that's how you do that. And again, you need to demonstrate to me. So whatever you see in these solutions, it's kind of 99.9% what I'm looking for. Also, you'll say to me, oh, God, I'm not going to do every bloody line, bugger off. But the point of the matter is that I'll do every line for you, but you need to do the key lines. So as you go through, obviously, let me find a couple of lines. Yeah, that's so. That's not a very good example. No, this kind of that's not a very good example either. But I guess what I'm saying is, as we go through, we'll find better ones. But the idea, of course, is that you just got to be able to communicate what you're doing. So if you just have this magical appearance that you suddenly go from, let me go up here a bit. You suddenly go, oh yeah, there we go. There's an expansion. Fantastic. And then you go down here and you go, yeah, of course. There it is. Well, fantastic. That inverted commas might be worth 10 marks. You probably got 3. You know what I mean? I guess what I'm saying to you is you've got to show me, demonstrate to me what you're doing. Oh, there's a better one. Okay, see how that's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 6 lines or something. Okay, so in reality, if you did 3 of those, it's the key lines. You've got to demonstrate to me the key lines. But I will do, as you can see, look, full explanations. I'm just trying to now see, this is a nice one too. In the last couple of years, this has always been, I've been teaching this for like, oh goodness, too long probably, but 15, 16, 17, whatever the years. So the point is that in the last couple of years, we've redesigned the course, of course, as well, but we've also put more digital stuff in it. So yeah, so this is new. Some of this is this is the second offering of this. So yeah, it gets interesting quickly, as you can see, but I've got some little techniques that I'll show you there as well. And again, I've referenced. So I'm trying to say to you, if this was your assignment, this is what your assignment would look like. Okay, you'd have your references down the bottom, appropriately done during Harvard. You'd have your working, and again, you know, the key ones. All right, now, can I go back on that? All right. Okay, I have problems here. Why my Moodle? Oh, okay. Okay. I'm trying to get back to my Moodle now. All right, frustrating. Yeah, this is the problem we've been having all morning. So you can still see that. So if I try and get out of my mode now, so I've lost my, oh, let's just take that out of there. Just stop sharing for a moment. Okay, see if I can get my, yeah, no. Okay. What's been happening is that the Moodle has been going weird, well, internet basically. So something's been going wrong in the university. Ah, there we go, that's better. So now I'm back to that, good. So now bring you back online again. So if I bring you back on again, okay, you should be able to, can you see that tutorial page now? And I'll resume sharing. Yeah. All right, so everything's okay?
Yeah, we've got that, thank you.
Thanks, Bradley. All right, so as I say, get familiar with this and feel comfortable with it. The other thing, these are all activities, so laboratories, of course. Now, the other key thing is that PLCs is something we've been doing for a few years now, but we've really, it's quite introductory. So the reality is that if you've done ENEE, I think it is, 13 something or other, control technology as an AD unit, then we'll give you an exemption for the laboratories. Okay, so you would have seen that on the forum notices. So if you go to the forum, just keep in mind that, and if you've already done that, we'll give you recognition of prior learning. You just got to contact me, have a chat with me, and we've already done that for about 3 people now. And also, if you're a person that uses, you know, PLCs and you've done it for the last 14 years or something, well, again, come and talk to me, because we want to make sure that we're not mucking you about. There's nothing worse than, you know, redoing stuff, or if you've already done stuff, we're more than happy to give you recognition of prior learning for it. So please, the laboratories are coming up week 5, so you know there's a lot of preparation for the laboratories. So please, as soon as you can, get that over and done with, and one, either look for an exemption, have a chat to me about it, or get your groups formed. That's the other key thing. All right. So with the laboratories, there is a residential school for everybody. So we're going to, in week 5, Monday and Tuesday. What I've been doing for a few years now is I've been running the laboratories locked in across the campuses at exactly the same time, and using Zoom just like this, but in the laboratory. So if you're in Bundaberg, for argument's sake, and somebody's in Gladstone, groups in Gladstone, here we are in Rockhampton and Mackay, whatever it might be, we all link up at the same time. You just in the laboratory doing your work, we're doing ours. We go through the lab, you get on with it, question gets asked, we answer it, blah, blah, blah. So what I've done now is I've just even honed that even more. So the residential school now is basically everybody together. So that means if you're a distance mode, mixed mode, whatever the fancy word is that you've got your enrollment in, if you're in that kind of mode, what you can do is, let's say you're close to the Gladstone campus, what you could do is turn around and say, oh, hang on a minute, you mean I don't have to come to Rockhampton for the residential school? Yeah, that's right. You can go to the Gladstone campus, or if you're close to the Mackay campus, go to the Mackay campus. Bundaberg, go to the Bundaberg campus. And then what you need to do between now and then, though, is communicate on the forum with people in Bundaberg, Mackay, Rockhampton, Gladstone, whatever the case may be, and form your group. Working with groups of 4, and that way you don't have to drive all the way to, I mean, people in Rockhampton, you're in Rockhampton. Now, again, obviously, if you're over, in South Australia or something, then the point of the matter is that, again, if you get to Gladstone, it's hard to get Gladstone by plane, but look, all I'm saying is that whatever campus you're close to on the eastern coast, in those ones that we just mentioned, you can work with that group there and then. Okay, so it can be a mixed group. You don't have to be all distance students all together, etc., etc. So just keep that in mind. I like to do that because then if you don't have to, if we can, that's the point, just trying to get a nice little, critical mass in those particular. Rockhampton will work because people have to come to Rockhampton to do the generally to fly in. So keep that in mind. Also, I've designed, and I've been doing residential schools for like 20 years or something. So I've designed it more and more, and particularly this, you'll find you've got 2 labs to do, 2 days, and really you come in and you do the lab, inverted commas, in the morning, and then you've got the rest of the day to get it done. You submit it by 10 p.m., and then what happens is that after 10 p.m., you submit it, I mark it at home, and then the next day when you come in, so that's the Monday night, the next day you come in, we'll have a quick look at it. You'll have your mark. I would have uploaded it hopefully overnight. It's slow at home, so I might do it the first thing in the morning, whatever the case may be. You'll get it back, and we'll discuss it while you're doing the second lab, so we can give you some feedback and say, look, let's get this over and done with. Then when you do the second lab on Tuesday, exactly the same thing. We do the lab, and the lab, you can work in the lab as well, or go away to the, do whatever you want. You can go to the library, go home, whatever the case may be. You get it done, hand it in again by 10 p.m. I mark it, and by the time, if you're flying back to Adelaide or something, hopefully by the following afternoon, you will have your residential school over and done with. You'll know what your mark is for your laboratories, and you just cheerfully go on your way. Okay, so that's how I like to do things. We've been fine-tuning it for a while, but that's what will happen. Okay, so just keep that in mind. That's part of the other process as well. And that's why when we go back to that Moodle site and you have a look at things, then the reality is that, so they're the activities. And then if we go and look at the assessment, everybody's interested in the assessment. So if we go to the laboratory assessment, let's circulate around again. But that's why when you do the write-up, I've given you, a good outline. So it's a good idea, just basically cut and paste this and use this as your template, I suppose. And you can set that up before you even come. So there's that kind of thing. So there's a lot of stuff you can do before you come. So have a look at all of this material is the key thing in laboratories. There's, so what you need to do is inform me of your group. And again, I've got them as 2 separate groups at the moment, but you can have them, they'll be all mixed up in actual fact. But if I just go to this one for a moment, the idea is we just want to track. So I just want to keep an idea that we have got people in groups, and that way we know who you are and where you are, that type of thing. So as I say, this could be, John Smith could be in Bundaberg, Joanne Williams, she could be from mixed mode. So it, whatever it might be. The key thing is, of course, is to go in and look at the laboratories, because there's the activity sheets. They can download all this stuff. There's a pre-laboratory basically explanation sheet. We've had that for quite some time. So go and have a look at that. There's a little a video that basically is that booklet, but that video will take you through. There's your sheets. Click on all that, get all that done. Then there's an emulator, so you can use that to test out your programs, but also you can do your tutorial problems using that. That's quite useful and quite helpful. So click on that. If you have any problems with that, you click on that. If you have any problems with that, we have over the years, but Simon's got it all set up. He's the best person to talk to. So, if you have a problem, be a technician, so it gives them a chance to, obviously do their job. So that's the idea. So if you have a problem with IT, go to TASIC. If you have a problem with any you know, IT with you know, this kind of emulator and stuff, go and have a chat with Simon. It's very, very useful. It doesn't matter what campus you're on. So if you're on Mackay, just go to Simon. He'll sort you out. Now the assessment criteria. Okay, again, when you're marking, when I mark it, this is how I mark it. I sit down there. This is how I design the assessment items as well. So when I go to market, the things I'm concentrating on for this unit, other units have got other emphases because of, you know, the great accreditation that we're trying to develop through from, you know, what Engineers Australia is trying to get us to do. So the three things I'm focusing on is data collection analysis, and again, this is for the laboratory, is data collection analysis, communication, and information literacy, and that's the referencing part. It's a little bit more complicated, and you should be actually critical of things, but the reality is that, you know, that's the easiest 15% you could ever get in your life. So keep in your mind that, yeah, look, referencing is a pain. I hate doing it, but the reality is that if you want to lose 15% right off, well, okay, ignore it. I don't recommend it, but that's what you want to do. But just follow the examples that I give and the setting out that I give and the way that I use it, and just do it the same way. Communication, keep in mind that mathematics is a communication. So therefore, then the way that you communicate mathematics, in other words, showing, demonstrating things, and also a graph is a form of communication. So, you know, just be conscious of using those kind of materials. And of course, the English language is very important as well. And data collection and stuff like that. So this is when you're also doing your laboratories, you should have this out and going, oh, what's he going to mark? What's he looking at? Oh, right then. So this is what I concentrate on when I mark. Okay. And we'll talk about that in the lab as well, but keep that in mind. That's what I'm marking by. Let's go back to the front page again. So again, the assessment, if we go to the assignments. So we'll go to that in a minute. So assignment 1, basically what you'll find, this is just saying, hey, listen, make sure you reference stuff, make sure you label diagrams correctly, make sure you don't magically do your mathematics. So tell me what's going on. Look at the assessment criteria. Again, they're different for the assignments than it is for the laboratory, because it's an assignment, not a laboratory. And then there's some referencing advice there for you as well. Okay, so, oh my God, there is an assignment here. Okay, so that's just a lead in to help you. So there's basically, I don't believe in making things onerous. So there are 2 assignments, so there are 2 questions. One will be an analog question, one will be a digital question. And again, sometimes they might be a bit testing. Oh, here we go. See, I told you it'd be a nuisance. Look at that. The initial conditions are sadly not 0. Okay, so yeah, I'm just, see what I mean? So just be very, very careful. Don't just go, oh, fantastic, let's get going. So, and it's there for a reason, for obvious reasons. So, as you might imagine, all the lectures have at least 1 or 2 problems fully worked. So that's 11 weeks, roughly. So that's about 22 problems. The tutorials, there are 4 questions each week, roughly. So that's pretty much. So that's, I think 1 week's only got 2. But that's another 44, so that's 66 questions. And then their assignments have 2 questions each, so that's another 4. So basically, you have 60 questions. Sorry, what was it? 60? Yeah, roughly that. So don't go looking in the textbook. Don't go looking somewhere else. If you can do all those problems quite comfortably, laughing. You're laughing. You should feel quite comfortable that you're competent in this, you know, the range of things that we're talking about here. All right, keep that in mind. Assignment 2, exactly the same blurb at the start, basically saying, please make sure you know mathematical magic, blah, blah, blah. And again, 2 questions. One will be, you know, an analog question, and one will be a digital question. Assessment criteria, well, again, we are concentrating on the same 3 things: analysis and interpretation, communication, information literacy. So it's only 10%, but again, you know, it's an easy 10%. Easy 10% to get, and easy 10% to lose. So keep that in mind. Same thing with mathematics. If you're drawing a graph, because some things you're plotting a graph, plotting out information, make sure you're communicating that appropriately. It's the correct shape, for argument's sake, or if you're reading from it, that type of stuff. And obviously, you should be able to use the English expression quite well. Interpretation, well, this is, again, a part of your interpretation here in your assignments will be mathematical, because you're going to calculate a number and say, oh, yeah, that's a realistic number. So part of the analysis interpretation does include mathematics principles, physical principles, control system principles, that type of stuff as well. I mean, don't freak out too much. Basically, I'm just trying to say to you, look, set your work out well, demonstrate what you're doing, and you can't go too far wrong. I've also set up this is my solution, your solution, which basically says to you, listen, this is my solution. Here's all, I've done every line, and good explanations, yeah. And then that took me, 4 pages. So when you do it, again, you've got to do similar things, obviously. You've got to show me some stuff. But when you do it, it might only take you, it's going to take you about 2.5 pages. Again, that's an ugly one because it's it's complicated, not complicated either. It's just fiddly because when you get into those little digital things, they always have these little factors and stuff, and then you've got to get it down, and you think, oh, I've done all this work, and what do you mean? It just turns out to be a cubic or a quadratic or something, you know? So there's a lot of mucking around. It's easy to make mistakes. So you'll see as I do my solutions too, I will use some color. I don't know if they use color. And the next question you're going to say to me is that, oh, that's fantastic, Patrick, you've typed all that up. That's really great. Thank you very much. I can read that really well. So when you submit your assignment, you don't have to type it up, okay? It just means that when you write it up, just obviously make clear that I can read it. If I can't read it, I can't mark it. So just be conscious of that. Everything I've done here is typeset, etc., but that's not my expectation of you. You can, hopefully not on a scrappy piece of paper, but hopefully write it out. So if you check on this file comes up a number of times. You can click on it. Again, a bit of color to follow through. So I'm just going to flick through so you can just give you an idea. So just go and have a look at it. And again, this shows you the kind of detail, and you see referencing as well. So keep that in mind. Go and have a look at that. That appears a couple of times. I think it's in the tutorial area as well. Okay. What else we got? Examination. Best way to prepare for the examination is to start, basically at the start of the term. What do I mean by that? Get involved. Read through the material. There's a lot of material there. There's a lot of helpful stuff. There's a lot of hints. There's a lot of, formatting in terms of saying, hey, listen, go this way, don't go that way, go this way. Make sure you're doing this way. So the point of the matter is that this is just really saying, look, there are 4 questions on the exam. It's a 3-hour exam. It's an open book exam. You take everything in. We'll talk about this again at the exam time. But again, prepare yourself now. In other words, go to the tutorial. Go and do the tutorial problems. Do the lecture. This particular session that we're doing now, as I say, won't last 2 hours generally. We're just going to chat today in terms of, much broader than generally. But the point of the matter is that go and have a look at the Zoom lecture, because I might give some hints about the assignments, that kind of thing. Draw your attention to some things. I might have made a mistake somewhere. I had to correct it, that type of thing. But the key thing with the examination, if you do your assignments, obviously, but to do your assignments, just to jump in the assignment, do the lecture problems, obviously work through the lecture videos, the slides, then also try the tutorial problems, then go and do the assignment, okay? It kind of seems logical, but real life says to us that, oh no, that assignment's due next week. I'm behind in this unit. I've got to hurry up and do it. So I'll get straight on the assignment. Look, I'd rather you come to me and ask me for an extension, like it's, I don't know if I remember the day of the assignment, but like on the day it's due. But like on the Wednesday, if you came to me and said, look, Patrick, if I could just have it on Monday, I think I could, that'll get me through. I'm not going to download it till Monday morning anyway. Do you understand what I mean? So all I'm saying to you is that, generally, you've got to go through the process and push the button. But generally, if you ask me, I'll give you an extension. If you just want to tidy things up, or if you just want a bit of breathing space, don't hesitate to do that. Okay, that's not a problem. Again, if it's for a week or something, well, that's another matter. You've got to come up with a bit better, not excuse, but a better reason. But I'm just saying, in the confines of reality, if just a bit of breathing space will get you done, no dramas. I don't have a problem with that. Don't knock yourself about trying to get it done by Friday night for all those kind of reasons. All right, so with the exam, read through that again. So that's just talking about that. We're experienced people now, but keep that in mind. So that's the assessment. There's a lot of resources. The library is fantastic, so all that stuff there at the library. Well, useful information if you're trying to figure out who we are. There's plenty of stuff there. Oh, the textbook. A classic example of the textbook is that what they like to do in any unit or anything now, generally, sometimes even 18 months, every second year they love to bring out a new edition, okay? The reality is that if you've got this textbook, I think I'm still operating off this one, the 7th edition. I think they're up to the 9th now. I'm not too sure. But even if you had the 6th edition or something, look, you couldn't go too far wrong, to be honest. In lots of ways, you'll find that if we go to the workshops, what you'll find is that if you think about it and you look at the lecture slides, really, you've got a little mini textbook that's already there. So when you look at that, so the textbook is useful, don't get me wrong, but look, between you and me, if you were just to use this as the basis of your study, you'd do pretty well. I haven't copyrighted anything in terms of breach copyright. If you go down here, I'll just go down, for example, looking for something from the text. Example. Okay, well, that's from the textbook. Okay, see, I've obviously cut and paste that, stolen it from the textbook. I've appropriately referenced it. And also, of course, we have an agreement with the publisher that we can do that. We can insert stuff, that type of thing. So same with the tutorial problems, you'll see that, so that stuff's all legitimate. So how we get away with that for the publisher is the publisher says, as long as we recommend the textbook from that particular publishing house, and obviously students buy it, then that's okay. All right. So as I say, with the lecture slides, you can pretty much live off that in the video. With the tutorials, again, as you saw, if we just go back to tutorials for a minute, full solutions, just pick an odd week, not an odd week, no, not odd week. Just pick a random week. So again, that I've stolen from the textbook, but I've told you I have. 2011, see again, that's, as I say, they cycle through the additions. Suddenly question 17 will become question 42 or something, or it'll suddenly disappear from that addition and come back in again. So I got tired of doing that over a decade. So I just started saying, no, I'll just make up my own tutorials based on obviously the textbook. So when you look at the questions for that particular week, they are all from the textbook. But again, as you see, 2011, I think that's the 6th edition. Okay. So, as I say, that question may not even appear in the 7th edition or the 11th, whatever it is up to at the moment. So in this way, in talking to the publishers, I've set up my own little problems, which come from the text, and some from the text, some from other places. But the reality is that I'm not in breach of copyright. It's all there for you. All right. So that's it. That'll start us off as a one, recognition of prior learning with regards to labs. Get your lab group organised. You've got resources there with regards to the tutorials. You've got your assignments. You know how to access those. They're uploaded. Also, when we go to that, in actual fact, let's go and have a look at that again for a minute. We go to the assignment up here, upload link. And what you'll find is that generally there's can be quite a few of you. So again, this is just good practice. Tell me who you are. Give me some information. So that's the minimum information you should name your file as. And also just keep in mind that this is a timed out site. So if you come along, Australian Eastern Standard Time, if you come at, again, frustratingly in Moodle at 10 p.m. and 5 nanoseconds, what will happen is that it'll probably close. Or so I guess what I'm saying is that if that happens, don't freak out. Just email it to me and just say, oh, Patrick, the bloody link was closed. The point of the matter is that if you send it to me Saturday morning, well, it's now 1 day late. So the reality is that I will come and download them on the Monday, but I won't even check my emails till the Monday. But don't, again, if you're there on Friday evening or something, don't freak out. Just basically get it to me, and that way I can start marking it on the Monday. Well, start marking it on Monday. All right. Okay. We're going to go and have a look at this week's lecture and that type of thing, and zero in on that specifically at the moment. So typically what we would do is say, g'day everybody, how you going? Look, this is week 3. This was the lecture slides for that week. We'll just flick through any particular problems. Oh, that's good, okay. Tutorial problems, or anything here, any issues? All right. The assignment, anything issues? So the point is that if you've prepared, done the work, the reality is that this is kind of just a catch-up chat, to be honest, to clarify things. So I don't want to hold you up for 2 hours. Today is a bit longer because we look at the middle side and give you a bit more comfortable insights. And as I say, the whole point of doing Zoom is so you can literally sit at home in your pajamas and just quietly, get on with your work and be, easy enough to just get back to them if that suits you. All right, okay. So any questions about any of that to begin with? The Moodle site, laboratory groups. Fabio's been very diligent, been forming a group in Gladstone and getting that going, so he's doing really well with that. Other people, I've had a couple of chats with those as well. Week 5, again, it's week 1, day 4, so week 5 will suddenly appear. It's not that far away, so you've got a lot of preparation to do there, so make sure you're getting that organised. But get your group organised and tell me straight away so that we can put it up, and then you can go and check and go, oh, there's that's only got 3 people in that group, that type of thing. All right. Key thing is to get 4 people. Depends on the numbers, but the reality is sometimes I do have groups of 5. It just depends on where you are and what's happening. Group of 6 is too big, gets a bit ugly. But a group of 5, I'm happy to deal with as long as people are, obviously working together. So keep those things in mind. And keep in mind, if you're a distance student, you do not have to come to Rockhampton for the residential school. You can come to the closest campus on the eastern coast, which will be Mackay, Gladstone, Bundaberg, Rocky, of course. Bundaberg might be a bit more difficult. I think there's only one person in Bundy. But again, if you check with me, ask me, and then we can figure that out together and make sure to get you comfortable. The key thing is if we can get a group of 4 on, minimum of 4 on each campus, there'll be more in Rockhampton, of course, and possibly more in Mackay. But the reality is that, that small group. I have had groups where I've had, say, 2 people in Gladstone and 2 people in Rockhampton, and they've basically had the equipment in front of them and then worked as a group across the Zoom as a group. Okay, welcome to the 21st century, I guess. So you can do that as well. But the key thing is get a group of 4, get that dynamic. Okay. You can get an exemption if you obviously are highly trained in PLCs, work experience, etc., etc. Keep that in mind, because again, why come and do a laboratory? That's it's an introductory laboratories in reality. So if you've done a lab, I'm not going to waste your time. I don't want to waste your time. Likewise, if you've already done that control technology unit in the associate degree, it's legitimate. It's a very good lab. I've done both those labs myself, and many years ago. About 10 years ago, when Sanar first came, must be about 2009 he came, we used to go to Gladstone one time around. We did that, and we did his labs to get us started with some laboratories. So likewise, they're good labs. One about water levels or something, and then the other one is the traffic light. So both those are quite great. They're good. So I'm happy to, I'll give you an exemption on that as well. So that saves you coming for 2 days, saves you writing up stuff, means you can get on with other stuff. All right. And then, of course, your assignment and the formatting and things like that. All right. Anything you want to ask? Comfortable?
No, we're all good here, Patrick.
Excellent. Thank you, Derek. Let's cycle through. Well, not to embarrass you, but Jason, we'll cycle through people and just sort of say hello and get you to talk. Jason, everything okay? We're going to talk about the week 1 in a moment, but basically that's kind of like the big intro to hopefully get people comfortable with the Moodle side, etc. Jason, all good?
Yeah, all good. It all makes sense.
That's good. As long as you're comfortable. And as I say, don't hesitate to ask a question, ask for clarification. If it's a question about the assignment, put it on the forum. That way everybody sees it, and that way I can give an answer back to everybody. And that way, it's all transparent, of course. But what I'm also saying to you is don't hesitate to ask. There's no harm in asking. And also what will happen is sometimes, just talking about that, we might come and somebody will say, oh, I was doing an assignment one other day and I did this and did that and I think I've got this. So sometimes there'll be this kind of cryptic conversation that it'll be like, oh, so what did you get? Oh, right, okay. Was it any higher than a 3rd power? Oh, no, right. So, of course, that that means if you haven't done it, we want you to do it. But if you've already done it, I don't believe that when you look at those problems, they are quite long. So if you make a silly mistake, whether it's a negative or you write the wrong number down, then you get to the end and it just goes crazy. So the point of the matter is that if you want to check something like when you go to do your partial fraction, before you get your partial fraction, then you're going to do Laplace stuff. You can check that partial fraction with me because there's nothing worse than going off and doing stuff and then you spend 4 days doing that and it's all wrong. That doesn't make any sense to me. And then when you hand it in, it's out of 20, inverted commas, and you get 12 for it. Well, that doesn't make any sense to me either. So it's that kind of thing. That's what I'm talking about. Say Jason was doing it and he's just said, oh, I've done question 1 and I got something like this without telling me what it is, or we can sort of figure that out. Then I can cryptically talk to Jason to say, yep, you're on the right track. And then somebody else that has no idea what's going on, well, start the assignment and they'll go, oh, there was some conversation with Jason the other day. They said something about a cubic. Oh, I could be on the right track here. So it's fine in that way. But if Jason's already done the hard work, well, you also have to go and do the hard work as well. But there's ways and means of discussing it. So just ask any questions you like. Okay, thanks, Jason. Abby, what about yourself? Everything good? Excellent. Okay. Cameron?
Yeah, all good.
Okay, excellent. Derek, you still good? Good. Fabio, anything else?
No, nothing from me right now. Thank you.
Good. Bradley?
I've probably got a couple of questions. Wolfram Alpha would be able to help us confirm whether we're on the right track or not, wouldn't it?
Excellent. Yeah, Bradley, yeah, I use it in the maths, and we've sort of had some shifting in the maths now, where we've taken it out actually, but it's still there, but it's not part of the assessment. You'll see some of the solutions in my tutorials we'll have, and actually in the lectures now and again, we'll have Wolfram Alpha. Yeah, of course you can. That's exactly right. Use that. That's quite powerful, and that's great. Yeah, of course you can. If you use it in your solution, just put it in. Just tell me that you've done it and cut and paste the bit that you use. That's all. Even if you put an appendix, that's all legitimate. There's nothing wrong with that. That's fine.
Okay.
And that's how you use it. So, please use it.
The next question is, will it be fairly common to go well beyond the cubic power in assessments?
No, I think the highest power I go to is power 4.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, it won't be to the 10th power or anything like that. No, like that's pretty
No,
neat.
I just was wondering how far past the 3 you were going to be going. No, thank you very much.
Well, okay, well, now I've videotaped this, but look, I've got a feeling I don't think any of them are any higher than 4th power, to be honest.
No, that's fine. I'm not trying to box you in there. I'm just wondering if we're going past 3, and if we are, that's all good. Thank you very much.
I can't categorically say, but I'm pretty sure 99.96% that I think the highest power is the 4th power as you go through the whole unit. Yep.
Nice, thanks, Patrick.
Too easy. See, good question. See, great, fantastic. See, his blood pressure has gone down. See, fantastic. Anything else, Bradley? No.
Not at the moment. Thanks, Patrick. Thanks.
All good. Thanks very much. Jaden, what about yourself?
Hey, yeah, all good here, Patrick. Thank you.
Excellent. Good. All right. William, what about yourself?
Yeah, all good, thanks.
Anybody else? Oh, there's Leanne. Hello, Leanne. How are you?
How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad for a Thursday. It's almost week one. I'm looking forward to Friday. How about yourself?
Yeah.
Doing well?
I'm pretty pumped to be back home. I've been away, so it's really good to be home and getting stuck into it now.
Oh, welcome home. Good on you. That's excellent. So, any questions this morning about what we've just been going through?
No, it's pretty good. Initially, so I just caught up with watching like the lecture and had a bit of a look at the toots because I've only just really got back yesterday. So pretty much this is our one check-in for the week.
That's right. Yeah. Oh, when I say that, well, if you like formal check-in.
Yeah.
But if you've got a question or something, you can always ring me or email me. So any time of the week, even on a Saturday. I mean, I won't answer it on a Saturday. But yeah, no, exactly right. So officially, and as this gets taped so that we might talk about it.
And will it be taped every week? Because I just had a question about that, because there's a couple of Thursdays that I'll be working and I won't be able to make it live time. So yeah.
Taped every week, and as I say, it might last 10 minutes, it might last 20 minutes, it might last half an hour. Today's a long one because we talk about introductory things and getting people a bit more comfortable. So it really it all depends on you as a group. If you want to ask things, and the longer this session will go within that 2-hour period will depend on you and your needs as individuals and as a group. And sometimes it might be somebody might start asking something, and I'll go, I tell you what, that's a good point. What we'll do is you and I might need to go and talk about that off air, because it might be something about page 43 on lecture 7 or something. You know what I mean? So and then we might say, oh, anybody else got a problem with that? Oh, no, it's okay. So sometimes we might set a date, we might negotiate so that we'll catch up on that a little bit later, because it's not very interesting to other people or something like that. So, but generally, it'll be about this time and stuff, to be honest. Okay.
Yep.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Back to me. Thank you. That's good. Excellent. Well, welcome. Who else we got? Zach, what about yourself? How are you going?
I'm all right with it on my end, thanks, Patrick.
Excellent. All comfortable?
It was manageable.
Yeah, good to hear. Good to hear. Brendan?
Yep, no problems. All good.
Okay, excellent. All right, have I covered everybody? Let's have a look. I think I've covered everybody. As I say, I'm hopefully, if you haven't worked, has anybody worked with me before, or did you do maths with me at all in year 1? No.
Yeah, I did.
Oh, hopefully that was a good experience. Don't need to neither confirm nor deny.
Don't like the sound of that laughing, you two.
Yeah, I'm a bit unsure now, Bradley. I'm a bit embarrassed now. Probably shouldn't have asked.
I was trying to remember when I did it.
Oh, you're right. You're right. I guess what I'm trying to say is that the key thing is that, look, I am approachable. And yes, I'll make you think, and I'll be a pain to you, because I'll say things. Again, my classic line, if you like, is that every time you ask me a question, don't get frustrated, but I'll probably ask you a question straight back, and it's not because I'm trying to be smart. What I'm trying to say to you is that I'll ask you something, and I'll go, okay, right then, because what I'm trying to ascertain and help you ascertain is that in actual fact, you probably know a lot more than what you think you know. So we might have a funny conversation at time, and you might think, oh, yeah, I'm asking a question. Why do you keep asking me questions? And the reality is sometimes it's just that, even if you can't get started on a question, that's fine. I might ask you some key questions and we might go back and look at something else first and think, why are we looking at that? And then we'll come back again. The key thing is that I'm very approachable. Just ask away. And again, as I say, with the assignment question, I couldn't care less. I'm happy to talk about the assignment question. And as I say, those assignment questions can be quite complicated in terms of there's a lot of work to be done. And as I said, if you make some silly mistake back in line 6, it doesn't make any sense to me. So do check. And then, as I say, I'll either give you a cryptic response or we'll come up with something. But the key thing will be that it's all about you. I want to make sure that you come out successful at the other end. Just keep that in mind, okay? So don't hesitate. All right. So happy with all that now? Yeah. Okay. All right. So why don't we? So what we would normally do is when we come on, we'd say good day and all the pleasantries, and then what we would do is go to the Moodle site, and I would say to you, oh, okay, right. And then what do we got? Week 1. So we go to the workshops. Everything's there. There's learning objectives, the slides, video stream, and then of course the Zoom sessions. So that will go up later. But if we look at the lecture slides, typically what I'll do is I'll go to that, excuse me for zipping, and I've already done the video, so I'm not going to repeat the whole video, obviously. What I'm going to do is just basically flick through it. So again, that can be frustrating from your point of view because you go, oh God, he's flicked through that. But if there's anything in particular that you want to talk about week 1, that's what we'll do. We'll zero in on it. You can tell me, oh, page 5, there was something funny about that. What's going on there? Or so we'll do that, and then we'll go and look at the tutorials. And then we'd ask about the assignment, and then basically anything else you want to talk about, laboratories or whatever. So looking at week 1, is there anything particular in the chapter, the lecture, little chapter book that I made up, or not really lecture slides, but basically that particular document? Anything in particular that's causing concern? Okay, that's a good thing. All right, yep, okay, good. So we're happy with that. So then if we go to the shoots, and good old week 1. All right, and as I said, warned you beforehand, they won't always be 0 initial conditions, so keep that in mind. Is there any particular question that's causing, fear and doubt? Again, sometimes you'll say, oh, I don't know because I haven't got there yet, and that's fine. That's the reality. The reality is that I live in the real world. The point is that, yes, it is Thursday, week 1, but like Leanne's saying, she's just got back from work. She's going to have to go back, disappear again. So, as you well know, some weeks you're going to be, okay. And other weeks you're going to be going, oh, I've got that assignment for the other unit. I have to get it done, and you'll fall behind in this one, and then you'll be a bit of a pendulum or a seesaw. That's no drama. So if you think, oh, I won't link in because I haven't done this week, well, that's great if you can't link in. But sometimes just link in because sometimes people will say things and discuss things, and you go, oh, okay, I must remember that when I'm looking at that. So, use it as a community help for care and share group as well, in that context. Sometimes what happens is that we'll turn up and there'll only be 3 of us, maybe even just 3 of us, including me. The point is that because people have suddenly got a residential school on, or they've got a big assignment due, yibbity. So, as I say, it all depends on what you want. And that's why sometimes that might only take a 20-minute video, 10-minute video, and then that's all there is. All right.
Yeah, Patrick, Brad.
Yes,
Question 3 there of Tute 1. If nobody else is going to speak up, I will.
Yeah, question 3, this one.
Yeah. Now that what do you call it? You've got that one at the end there. What would that be? That's the output. Is that correct? RS?
Sorry, so I'm on the question sheet. So
yeah,
so
yeah, the one on the right there.
This
Okay, that on the right. So what have we got? I can understand that perfectly. As soon as you stick a cosine or a sine or something in it there, that tends to make it quite interesting as you start working it through.
For sure.
Is there any way that you could give us a simple example of that without giving away the assignment? Or am I asking a bit much?
Let's go around circles for a moment and let's see how we go. When we look at that, that just happens to be lovely because it's got x's and, you know, that guy, it's obviously called a differential equation. So it's a second order equation because it's got highest powers 2, so 2 derivatives. If we to shift that 1 over to this side, that would be obviously that plus 3x minus 1 equals 0. So basically it's a quadratic equation, isn't it? Okay, so that's all it is. It's just a fancy way to write down a quadratic equation, even though it's got a differential equation, but it's really just a fancy way to, it's another form of the equation. So let's go to the solution. Question 3, question 2, question 3. So again, whether it's a cosine, sine, it's just, all it means is that this is, you know, obviously if x increases or decreases, something happens. Likewise with the cosine or the sine, it just means something increases or decreases, but it just does it in a cosine sine kind of way. In other words, it does it like, you know, kind of like a snake kind of shape. Or it could be a sawtooth or something like that. So in terms of the cosines and things like that, don't freak out too much. It's just another form, you know, and it's just another expression of what that is occurring. So when you go to look that up, just like we did with the 1 here, so I guess your freakiness, if you like, is about the Laplace part when you go and do that bit. Is that the freaky bit? Yeah. Again, Laplace has got those, you know, you got cosines, sines, exponentials, all those kind of things in that Laplace transform table. So all you're doing, the whole point of the Laplace is basically, if you think of this, we think of this as, say, being inverted commas written in English. Well, that's okay. You and I speak English, so we can talk about it. But if I was a French person, inverted commas, what happens is that doesn't make any sense to me. So it's, what we do is we convert it by using a Laplace transform into French. Okay, so in French now we're going to have a communications, and then basically we have to retranslate it. So that's why we do the you know, the inverse. But the other way to think about it too is that this is well, complicated. You know, for us, we think, oh, that's complicated mathematics. So the other way to think about it is that you're taking, inverted commas, complicated mathematics and turning it into less complicated mathematics so that you can basically work more simply. But then because this is in a different type of system, a different domain, then we have to, we're not working in this domain. We have to go back to this one. So that's the conversion we've got to go back to. It's a bit like a guy called Napier, if you probably remember logarithms, Scotsman. He basically came up with this system during the 1600s, around about the same time as Newton. What they did was, you had to go to university to learn long division, okay? Because long division was just, you know, highfalutin stuff. So when Newton and all those kind of guys were doing their calculations, Napier, a Scotsman, came up with a system whereby instead of having to do division in this system, he could convert it using logarithms, and you only had to subtract and divide, subtract or add, and then, or multiply, and then you can convert it back again. So that's kind of what the Laplace does. So while it's frustrating that you've got to go from one system to another, that's the basis of it. So in terms of the cosines and stuff like that, it's just getting used to understanding how that Laplace table converts it from that form into the other form. Is that kind of not cryptic enough?
And I guess you're covering that with your note there as well, Patrick, because you go to table 1 of your lecture.
Yes.
And that's where I thought you drew the Laplace transform from, but obviously your note is saying that that's a little different there.
Yeah, because that's because there is confusion about that in that table, to be honest.
Page 6 of your lecture, yeah.
Thank you so much, yeah. That always is a bother when it's a 1. It's always a bit frustrating. So I just put that note in there to say, hey, listen, this is really what it means when that occurs. Yeah, right. Yeah, because it is confusing.
Okay. Yeah. So we're subbing in basically those when we're converting over into Laplace, I understand. Is that right?
Yeah, see this kind of stuff here. See, there's your sign. So you're
Yep.
going to have some sort of take it
Yep.
away from that. But
Yeah. Okay.
But again, it's like, again, as I say, the analogy is that why are we doing it, and why does it suddenly, it just happens to be, that's French for that. If you can think of it.
Understood.
And then, as I say, we don't live, we're not working in France, we're working in England, so we have to go back. That's why we have to go back in.
Yeah. No worries. Thanks very much, Patrick. Appreciate that.
Too easy. All right. Anything else about that? Shoot one. Anything else about shoot one? The other thing too is that mathematics, you know, I can show you, we can write it down. The point of the matter is that you only learn mathematics, and ultimately you know yourself from other things. It's like driving a car. We can sit here and talk about driving a car, but that's not the way you learn how to drive a car. You know, that's only partly the way you learn the car, because you learn about the road rules, you learn that there's a clutch, you learn that, oh, hang on, don't do this, and hold the steering wheel this way. But then when you get in the vehicle, then other things happen. So it's the same with mathematics. We can talk like we just did with Brad. So say, oh, look, you know, this is really what's happening, and that's it. So we're talking about it, but when you go to do it is another matter. Okay, just like when you get in the car, you jump start the car and, you know, hop along the road and all that kind of stuff when you first learn. It's exactly the same with mathematics, and same with design, all those things. So keep that in mind. So I guess what I'm saying to you is that don't get too frustrated if you think, oh, what am I going? I can't understand this. And as Brad was saying beforehand, you've got a whole range of tools that you can use. That Wolfram Alpha, you know, for all the grumbling that, you know, as a first year you might have done about it, it's quite a powerful tool, because the reality is that you should be able to check whether you're on the right track. And that's great, because that's reflective practice. It's helping you get inside the problem as well. You know, if I guess the bottom line is that hopefully as time goes on, that you start to realize this whole university experience and it is about trying to get you to think, basically, and trying to get you to rely more on yourself. Because the reality is that sitting there at home, or whatever the case may be, you can watch the video, you can look at the slides, but if you just watch the video and look at the slides, it doesn't happen by osmosis. It doesn't, you know, you can't put your head up against the paper and it sort of just gets absorbed. You got to actually do something. So once you start to trust yourself and get confidence, and two things I always rave on about is confidence and competence. They're the two key things I really drive to help you with. That's what I want to do. When you walk out of my unit, if you're more confident about what you're doing, and obviously competent, because we've got a good broad of things that we're talking to you about, I've achieved my goal. You know, and if that means a pass mark, I don't care. The point of the matter is that it's a building process. You know, so don't feel as if that you have to know everything, understand everything. Keep asking, keep doing. So the other frustration you'll find is that you've spent 4 hours, you know, doing this bloody problem, as I've said to you. You've done it 3 times and you got 4 different answers, and you're thinking, God, what's going on here? And the problem may be that it's got nothing to do with Laplace transforms. It's got nothing to do with control systems. It's got something to do with algebra. You know, you've made a silly mistake, you know. So that kind of thing. That's what I'm saying to you, is that if you've done that, don't do it 5 times. Once you've done it a second, or particularly a third time, I mean, the first time you do it, always go and do a check. That's your reflective practice. Do a check. And then if you go, oh, something wrong, well, you obviously fix it up, and then you go, okay, I'm happy now. But the other key thing is that, you know, learn to trust yourself, and then learn to, you know, obviously trust the system, if you know what I mean. The processes I've tried to show you and map out, it's like a little algorithm. Sometimes I like to give you an algorithm to help you with your thinking, because mathematics sometimes to some people looks like just magic. So to me, if I can give you like an algorithm, a bit like with the control systems analysis and stuff, but if I give you, you'll see as you get into later chapters, there'll be a little algorithm that I'll actually write out for you. And all I'm saying to you is that if you follow this line of thinking, it will, not that you won't make mistakes, but it'll help you go, oh, hang on a minute, I didn't do that. What happened here? Oh, right, I should have done that before I did that. Or I won't go to the next step until I make sure I get this step correct, that kind of thing. So that's kind of the design that I've got there for you. All right. But as I say, no questions, a stupid question, ask anything you like. Most wonderful discoveries in life are made by, inverted commas, stupid questions. Okay, anything else? Sometimes you ask a stupid question after it opens, but welcome to life.
No, thanks, Patrick.
Too easy, brother. All right, anything else? Anything else? So that's covered our tutorial for this week. And as I say, the next obvious thing at the moment I'll keep harping on about is your laboratories. So we look at the laboratories. There's a lot of preparation to be done. As I say, you've got well, laboratory sheets themselves. So you've got that pre-lab stuff to go and have a look at. You've got the video, that's a video of that document basically. And then you've got your activity sheet. So when you go and look at the activity sheets, again, what's that? That's a 20-page document. So you've got that to look at. Just look through. That's what you'll actually be working with when you come into the lab. But the key thing is this pre-lab stuff, getting used to that. And with the emulator, go back a bit. Where are we? Laboratories. Where's the emulator gone? Oh, there it is there. When we get up to week 4, we'll be doing the section on PLCs. So it's an introductory section, but again, you can use the emulator to do the tube problems if you want to. It's just give you something to do, just something different. Don't hesitate. So that's the next key thing. I need to know from you who's in your laboratory group. Working in groups of 4. Start with groups of 4, and then as I know, sometimes it may be required a group of 5, but we'll see how we go. All right. We go back up to the next thing that we generally talk about is the assignment. So let's go and have a look at that assignment number 1. Now, when's it due? It's due in week 4, Friday of week 4. So basically, you've got this Laplace thing that you've got to do. So I know Bradley was saying it's got this ugly sign stuck out at the end. But again, just, you know the old joke about eating an elephant? How do you eat an elephant? Okay? One bite at a time. So as you do it, there's one bite. So when you do the Laplace, say to yourself, I couldn't care less about the rest of it. When you do the Laplace table, looking at the Laplace table, just bite that bit. Okay, and then you go, all right, fair enough. Then you go and bite that bit. So just concentrate on bit by bit, because as I said, when we're deconstructing, or when I'm deconstructing with you where you're at and what you're doing, sometimes you'll find that you've done 5 steps and it's, you know, you've just got a funny thing. It might well be that sign, I suppose. It might just be just a small thing, or you've forgotten to go and take the initial conditions, for argument's sake. That type of thing. They're intelligent people. It's just something to do with the process. So just be patient with yourself as well. Don't beat yourself up. All right. So any questions? I know it's week 1, day 4, and maybe you haven't looked at anything. But is there any question about the assignment that you want some more clarification on? That, like Bradley was asking about that good old sign there. Anything else about the assignment? No? Okay.
Hey, Patrick. I'm confused about what would we reference in something like this, because it's pretty straightforward. It's just question. Here's your working. Here's your answer. You know, what is that a reference?
Yep, good question. Okay, so let's go back and remember I walk the walk and talk the talk. So if we go back to lecture 1, where we started talking about Laplaces and things like that. Let's kind of look where I wrote on about that.
Excuse me, Patrick. Just for our reference, what do you use for all your referencing in all your research papers?
You mean like Harvard or?
Yeah, do you have a software program that you use to handle that for you, or?
No, there is one. What is it? EndNote. In my postgraduate students, are given the opportunity I used EndNote. I was given the opportunity to use EndNote, and it's an electronic one where you can basically a database of as you can add to it, so therefore you don't have to keep finding them. I never use it. I'm a great believer in the KISS principle, Bradley. Keep it simple, stupid. You know, so those kind of things, like all systems, it's a product, and somebody sold it, so they, you know, I'll sell you this thing called EndNote. So our postgraduate students go wild over it, and I go, whatever. Why don't you just keep a list of them over here, or when you're doing the thing, write the reference down. So I don't. So the short answer is no, I don't keep a list of them.
All right. I'm sorry, but I tend to agree with your postgrad students on that one, so I love it. Thank you.
Which is great. If it's good, it's like all these things. If it's good for you, it's all about you, Bradley. If it's good for you, that's fantastic. I'm happy. That's good. But don't ask me. Don't ask me how to use it.
So would we pretty much just reference an identity that we've used or something?
Yeah. So so have a look here. See, when I'm writing this out, see how I say? See, there's a reference. So when we go down to the table. See, look. See, there's your reference. Oops. Oops. See, there's my reference there.
Okay, so can we actually just use some of the same references that you've done if we feel they're relevant?
A wink and a nod, yeah, of course. But make sure they're relevant. Just don't copy it because I've got it. But yeah, that's the idea. You know, look, you're going to be looking up the same Laplace transform table. You know, be cautious though, because sometimes that particular one won't be in the textbook. The textbook, like all things, doesn't have everything in it. So just be careful there, William. That if you just blatantly copy that down as your reference, just be conscious that the particular problem you're solving in the the assignment, it may not even be in that one, particularly the inverse.
Yeah.
Because there's millions of them. There's a lot of them. So that's what I'm talking about referencing. So when you ever see that, go back and look. So this is like your assignment question. So if this was your assignment question, also I want you to demonstrate this to me because it's a mathematical. Again, you know, when you look at that assignment, there are initial conditions, but also sometimes when this is a Mickey Mouse partial fraction, but sometimes what happens in real life, that it's not a proper fraction. So you got to go through and do polynomial division. You remember how to do polynomial division? Sort of, yeah. Yeah, see what I mean? So be warned, be warned. The assignment is where I do the freaky stuff and go, this will trick them up. No. What I do is I'm testing you. So the point of the matter is that you have to test that. That's why it's in red. See, demonstrate you have checked. That's why I wrote it in red. So you need to do this kind of check to make sure that that partial fraction that you, remember the partial fraction that you're going to get from that, remember that thing that you've got's not the partial fraction. Let's see if we've got an example up here somewhere. Remember that assignment question. Oh, I don't know. Let's go back to the assignment question. Remember that what Bradley was talking about in the assignment, that's not a partial fraction, okay? That's a differential equation. You've got to get that little baby and convert it using Laplace transform into a partial fraction. Does that make sense? So there's multiple things you have to do. You have to take that, and of course you've got to take into account the initial conditions as well. So what you're going to do is play around with this, taking into consideration the initial conditions, get a partial fraction from it, and then you go forward. Does that make sense? So when you get to the partial fraction part, it will look, again, excuse me for flicking, it will look like something like that. Okay, so you've got a whole bunch of stuff before you get to here. Is that making sense? Yep. And nodding knowingly, that's good. Okay, so you've got that horrible looking differential equation, keeping in mind those initial conditions, take those into account, plus then you've got to do your Laplace thing, so you get to this baby. So then you've got another mathematical process that you've got to go through. So you've got to say to me, I know what I'm talking about here. I can demonstrate that I can go forth and do this next bit because this is a proper fraction. Does that make sense? So yeah. And then, as I say, you can throw, again, easiest 10%. Well, you're just going to make sure you get a reference that you tell me what process you use. It's the easiest 10% you're going to get in your life. So this is your assignment solution without the bit at the top. That's the different DE getting converted into that partial fraction. So you go through now, and then you do your working, and again you sort of go, I've got to use something now. So something external, you've got to use Laplace. You don't have to use Laplace in the textbook, of course. As I say, it doesn't have everything in it, and it's not the only one. All right, and then again, then get your answer. Again, get your answer in mathematical. The convention is that this, that's got, I got an answer. Yeah, just because you got an answer doesn't mean it's the answer. You've got to make sure that, again, it's convention, that you must have it in the simplest mathematical form. Okay, so keep that in mind as well. It's just like, you know, getting home in your car, getting out of the car and walking inside and you left the motor on. Okay, that's not in the simplest form. You've got to turn the car off, or you didn't lock it, for argument's sake. So it's just kind of think of it in those silly analogies. So it's the same idea. You've got to leave everything its simplest state. Okay, making sense? All right. So as I say, that 10% for referencing, easy 10% you're going to get in your life.
Yeah, Patrick, if Brad here, if we're referring to your notes and everything, you also have to be referenced in amongst all that too, don't you?
Yeah, and you'll see I'll reference myself sometime. And look, you'll see in the assignment itself, I give you some, I think I actually, I do hint on that. I'm pretty sure I do. So yes, you are correct. And then again, as I say, All I'm trying to do is to help you meet the requirement, basically, is what I'm trying to get at. So if I go to assignments, in that couple of pages of advice at the front, I'll just go up a bit. There you go. There it is there, yeah. Yeah, they're like a book. So yeah, there you go. So look, all you got to do is, yeah, thanks, Patrick. Thanks for reminding me of that. So again, you know, as I say, before you get, there's 3 pages before you get to the questions, because what you got to see, don't interpret this as like Patrick going like this. It's not me doing this. It's me going, come here. It's me whispering in your ear, do this for God's sake. If you do this, you'll do really well. Because I have to assess stuff. And for me to assess stuff, I'm just saying to you, this is the kind of stuff I've got to assess. So if you do what I tell you to do, then you're going to do pretty well. And then, as I say, not only do I tell you that, but all my solutions in the lectures, all my lectures, the way they're written up, the way they're described, I've got referencing in them. The way I've done the tutorial problems, I've got referencing them. So it's like, hey, I'm talking the talk. I'll also walk the walk with you. So, okay, so that's why it's there. Just don't go, oh, right, oh, that bloody rubbish. Let's get on with the bloody question. You know, I'm not reading that crap. Well, can I just say to you, that crap will help you much better. Because keep in mind, you know yourself too. You know, as engineers or as burgeoning engineers, you know, getting the right number 42 is only part of it. As I said to you beforehand, if you're the kind of person that comes on shift, I come on shift and you say to me, yeah, something happened, yeah, Mark, you know, that's not great. It's not very safe, blah, blah, blah. But if, you know, but then again, if you tell me, the answer is 42, well, that's not much good to me either, because the point of the matter is that 42 what? How'd you get to 42? So just keep in mind that underpinned in this silly old control systems assignment is kind of professional practices that I'm driving home. I'm just saying to you, hey, listen, when you communicate with other people or when you do a handover to other people, these are the kind of mindsets that you should have to say, hey, listen, have I explained to that person as best I can, as clear as I can, so they don't go out and get their arm ripped off when they go out to look at the, you know, the presser out there or whatever. So again, as I said, it's a silly old control systems assignment. And the bottom line, of course, is that, you know, there are some conventions involved, but ultimately there are professional practices. If you could take those away, that's kind of what I'm driving at. Yeah. So it's not seen to be done stuff. It's purposely there to try and help you and drive home to you that, you know, I want you to be a professional person. And from my perspective, this is how you behave as a professional person. You know? All right. So if something seems cryptic or like, oh God, what's all this crap here for? Well, all that crap's there to hopefully save your life and hopefully save somebody else's life. Just keep in mind, of course, that, you know, as professional engineers, sometimes you have to front up in court. So when you front up in court as a professional witness, they will ask you questions. So if you can't do the calculation on the back of the envelope and explain to somebody that has no idea what you're talking about, well, you know, I hope you're on the defense side, because if you're on the prosecution side, I'll visit you in jail. I'm happy to. You know. Can I just, I'll tell you a true story. I often talk about referencing, and people go, oh, bloody referencing, a pain in the ass. The reality was that, again, it's kind of a funny story. I had a master's student, this is about 10 years ago, and I said, well, we'll catch up next week. And he goes, oh, no, I can't. I said, oh yeah, no drama. So he said, I've got to go and see my mate's girlfriend up in Mackay. And I went, oh, okay, right. It's a story here. I said, oh, your mate's girlfriend? He said, oh, yeah. I said, oh, right, sorry, private question. Oh, he said, no. He said, it's fine. He said, my mate's in prison. And I said, oh, he's an engineer. And I said, why is he in prison? He said, well, and he was an engineer as well. And he said, well, what he did was he was in a company working here, like doing this stuff, and then he moved over to this company, and of course he took stuff from that company over to that company, and it was commercial in confidence. So what he did was he basically breached, I don't know if it's a circuit or a component or something. So they came after him. So, you know, he didn't appropriately, again, he shouldn't have done it anyway, but, you know, in terms of referencing, he didn't do the right thing. So he had a prison term. So as I say to you, this 10%, 15% for referencing, yeah, what a joke. It's not a joke. It's deadly serious stuff. And you'll see in the labs, we'll talk about it too, that when you go to do a circuit capture, you'll capture photographs. And I'll say to you, I want you to reference yourself. And you go, oh, what's this bullshit? And what I'm trying to say to you is that, if you work for your company and you put in a tender and you don't appropriately put a copyright thing on it, then somebody can go, oh, well, he owns this, I'll steal it. So it's just, again, as I say, it's a silly old control systems laboratory with 10%. of my mark, of 25% of my mark. But it's a professional practice. It's the professional practice I'm trying to drive home to you, is that just realize that when you do stuff, you own it. So therefore then, or your company owns it. So, I'd rather have an employee that comes along and goes, oh mate, I put our stamp on it when I put that tender in, and it's pretty obvious that that's ours. Oh, that's good. Rather than somebody that goes, oh look, I just lost that because of, I lost all that IP, intellectual property, because I didn't properly protect it. And this day and age, more times than not, that's something that's extremely important. So as I say, there's a funny story. I mean, it wasn't funny for that guy in the prison cell, but that's it happens. You've just got to be professional. So as I say, a silly old reference in an assignment, while maybe a silly old thing, but it's there to drive home the point that professional practice is very, very important. All right, good. Now, anything else?
Hey Patrick, how's it going?
Yeah.
I just wanted to add, if you don't mind me adding, I'm trying to form a group in Gladstone. If there's any other distance or flex students that would like to do the lab in Gladstone, feel free to contact me.
Good on you, Fabio. And how you can do that is, because we don't give Fabio's email address out, just do it on the forum. Fabio, you posted something on the forum already?
No, I haven't posted anything yet, but I think I should do that.
Yeah, do that. The forum is your location to have a chat. So post it on forum, and that way they can talk. And as soon as you've made contact, well, then you can share your email, you can share your telephone number, you can do whatever you want to do. That's up to you as an individual. Obviously, you don't want to hand out people's telephone numbers and people's emails. But that's good on you. There's an advertisement there. Fabio's got in, so that's great. So yeah, do that. Send it on the email and on the forum and get going. Yep, do it. So that's good. Anything else? As I say, don't hesitate to ask a question. We'll have a good laugh. That's the key thing. I want you to feel comfortable, confidence, competence. Build those two things by having a laugh, asking silly questions, getting some clarification, funny stories. It'll all work. Okay? I want you to do well. Okay, anything else? No?
I think I'm right. Thanks, Patrick. Thank you.
All right, well, run and be free. As I say, when I render this video, it can take anywhere, again, the system's a bit slow today, half an hour to an hour, but I'll get it up as soon as I can. So, and as I say, it'll be unedited. It'll be just, just as we do it. Just to remind you that on Thursdays from 9 to 11 in the morning, I have a maths one just like this, but it's a tute group, so it's a bit quieter. They just quietly work as a tute. So when we get started on our Thursday, if you wouldn't mind linking in, say, 11:02, you know what I mean? Just so we can finish off with that group. But if you do link in, that's fine. Don't just put on and just sit quietly, and we'll go from there. So if you forget about it and you link in, who cares? It doesn't matter. Or if you link in and you sit there quietly with your camera off, I don't care. That's fine. We're not recording it. Nothing happens there. It's a shoot. So if you forget, no problems. Just sit there quietly, and then obviously we'll start talking to you as a group. All right. Good. Key thing is ask questions. Check on stuff. Also, if you ring me, I'm happy to talk to you. I'm always happy to talk to people. But I find email the best thing, because the point of the matter is that you're a busy person, I'm a busy person. There's nothing worse than playing phone tap. It's not that I don't want to talk to you. I'm happy to talk to you. But the key thing is, if you send me something in an email, cut and paste something if you want to ask me something about it. No dramas. The key thing, of course, is that we can also either catch up like this and have an individual Zoom on Zoom, or again, a telephone conversation. I don't mind, whatever works for you. But the key thing is, in terms of the quickest turnaround that I can get is I can cut and paste something back to you on that type of thing. And then if it becomes like, oh, okay, this is the second time we've done this, and we're, it's causing confusion or nothing's happening, we'll just stop that, and we'll obviously, negotiate at proper time and things like that. The key thing is just, I just want to get back to you as quickly as I can. So as I say, don't hesitate to email me on the weekend, but I don't do that anymore. I just wait till Monday morning. It's coming on Monday morning, and then I cycle through the stuff.
Just with reference to that, Patrick, do you want us to put in the title of our emails to you the subject designation? Does that just help with the filtering, or you just go through it all?
Bradley, it's nice to meet a professional person. I always try to recommend that, and that's great. That's a great professional practice, because then I can go, oh God, that's that bloody God. Somebody needs help from that unit. Because it is, good point, because sometimes I come in and I go, oh yeah, never heard of that person. What unit is this? And then the other interesting frustration thing too is put your telephone number, because what has to happen is that when I finish talking, once I look at your email, I go, oh, Bradley, all right, good. I've got to go and open up a system. I'm still opening it. Then I got to look at it. Then I got to search it. Oh, there's Brad's number. Right, you know. So it's just a silly thing, but it's good professional practice. So yeah, good professional practice, Bradley, I would say. Excellent.
No, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, guys. Anything else? Now, if you forget to do that, that's fine. I won't think lowly of you or anything. But I'm just saying, you know, just the faster I can get to you, the faster I can get back. Yeah, good on you, man. All right, anything else? Oh, okay. Run away, be free, go and find something far more interesting to do. That's the other thing too. This is interesting. You got to pass this unit, yeah. Then you get your degree, yeah, all good. Okay, so let's make it, you know, let's make it as least painful as possible. In terms of, you know, struggling with it, I don't believe in. You know, I've worked with people over the years that go, oh, don't tell them that. And you go, why not? Oh no, they should. You know, when I went to school or when I went to university, I had to figure that out for myself. Yeah, well, yeah, all right, yeah. Don't worry, I won't give it to you. You know, it'll be a lot of blood and tears involved with it. But the point there is that just keep bouncing backwards and forwards. I don't believe you should be out there by yourself feeling as if I'm lost now and I'm going to give up. I don't want you to give up. Don't give up. Don't do anything silly like that, or don't plagiarize, for God's sake, all that kind of stuff. I'd rather you get 5 out of 20 for something that you did yourself, that you've been working on. And again, of course, you know, if you're in a state of mind where that's happening, well, you've got to talk to somebody. You know, start talking with me if you can, and then obviously other people. And then again, that darker side, you know, if you really get in the dark area and, you know, you're going to do something silly, don't do that either. You know, come and ask, just keep asking, you know, and you'll see that we're very, I am, the rest of them I don't know about, but look, I'm very approachable. You know, that's what I want, that's the message I want you to get. Come and ask anything. I won't always tell you the answer. It might be frustrating how you get the answer out of me in some ways, but it'll be hopefully jovial done and give you some direction. Sometimes I'll say to you, look, yeah, you're on the right track there, that's good. Go and have a look at that Laplace table or something, you know, or this one's good, that's good. And I'll send you off again. You're going to think, you never answered my question, the bastard. No, I will, but it'll, see what I mean? So, yeah, we'll get there. I want you to be a success, okay? Take care, be safe. I need coffee, I think. I think that's what's wrong. All right, guys, have fun. Take care, all the best.
Thanks, Patrick.
See you guys, all the best.
Thanks, Patrick.